Look, I opened this jar of rotten baby food, and well, a butterfly came out.
Welcome to the Comedians and Elevators podcast. I've got my guest, Richard VanDyke. Richard, say hi, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Richard VanDyke. I'm a Texas-based comedian. I live in Beaumont, Texas, and from Frog Knot, Texas, of all things. I just do what I can, when I can, where I can, to make people laugh and have a good time. And that's
Absolutely.
what life's about.
You said Frog Knot? Is that like
Frog Knot, Frognot? It's
Okay.
actually a place. Yeah, Texas got some unusual names. We've got Happy Texas is not just a movie; it's actually a place. So was Merry Christmas, Texas.
Nice.
Yeah, with Frog Pond, Frog Knot, Tanahal, Tampson, Bobo, and Blair.
Very cool. Very cool. So you ready to get into it?
Sure.
All right. So the main idea of the podcast is to compare and contrast the comic versus comedian. So I define the comic as any person telling funny jokes versus the comedian who's a funny person that tells any jokes. So a lot of people would say you start as a comic and evolve into a comedian. Would you agree?
I would agree. As far as comedians go, though, there are your one-liners like Henny Youngman. Right now, Andy Huggins is really big. I love Andy to death. He's a great person. If you get a chance to go watch him, watch him. I'm what they call a storyteller. I tell stories. So, but comics are just basically your how to define it. Comics tell things funny. Tell funny things, and comedians tell things funny. That's basically what it would boil down to.
I think we're in alignment with that. I'm saying the same thing in other words, as far as I can tell. So the first question is about the role of persona in comedy. How much of the comedian's voice is a character versus the real self?
Oh, well, I know how I sound. So, and I know about my accent. It's as backwoods and Southern as it can get. And as soon as I hit the stage, because of the stories that I tell, I just fall right back into my old country self and the way I grew up. I speak the way I grew up. So I'm basically reverting to my inner self, my own desires,
Your inner child is what you're saying.
Yes, my inner childhood, yeah.
Very cool. So does authenticity matter, or is illusion part of the magic?
Illusion's always going to be part of the magic. But authenticity makes the illusion grander. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's where I'd be coming from with it. So punching up versus punching down. Where do comics versus comedians stand on this? So let me put it in some historical context. Did a jealous medieval prince become the first comedian by killing the court jester?
That's a good debate. I think everyone has to. Who was it that I was talking to? It was another old guy also. I'm 65, by the way. So when I say another old guy, there's a lot of us still doing this that are old.
Yeah.
We were discussing this very concept one day, and everything that we do, the stories that we tell, are all based in fact. Things that have happened, things that we see, things that have gone on. But we just add a little twist to it. And I'm not sure, I don't remember if it was Mel Brooks or Zero Mostel who said, comedy is just tragedy plus time, but
That's good.
it's basically it. We take the silly and punch it up. We see something that's silly and just add to it, make it funny, make it entertaining. It may not always be factual once we get done telling the story. Um, well, like for one instance, I tell a story where when we moved from Bayou Pigeon, Louisiana, to Frog Knot, Texas, how it traumatized one of my little brothers so much he had to go to kindergarten twice. Now I'm holding up three fingers when I say that. So that's, yeah. And he actually did have to go to kindergarten twice, but it was because of the way his birthday fell. But that was along about the same time we moved. So, why not?
So would you say that the audience agreement with the comedian is a form of permission or alignment?
I think if the audience is willing to accept what the comedian is saying or the comic, either one, if the audience is willing to agree with what they're saying, they will show us their agreement by laughing and applauding. So yeah, I think they'll agree with the stretching. We stretch the truth a little sometimes. It's good to do so.
It's much more healthy than the other way around. So cultural translation of comedy. How do jokes that work in one country bomb in another?
Oh, well, if you're going to sit over here and tell 9/11 jokes, you're probably not going to go over real well.
Huh.
But,
Not in New York City.
Yeah, go to New York City. Yeah, you'll probably bomb there too. So, but go overseas and tell, other than Britain, go overseas, France or someplace like that, and tell something like that, and they're liable to see the humor of it. I personally, I don't deal with stuff like that. So, and I'm not going to say I've never bombed. Believe me, I've bombed on stage. Anybody that says they hasn't is full of as full of bovine feces as they can get. So.
Yeah, I would agree. So would you say that comics are more universal while comedians are more culturally specific?
No, it depends. It doesn't matter what, when you get into cultures and when you start using the word culture and throwing the word culture around, I have friends who are East Indian background, East Indian. I have friends who are American Indian. There's two completely different cultures. They're both Indians. Here I am, cowboy, stuck in between them. So, go figure. There's three different cultures there. So you have to really define cultural.
That's you're right. Yeah, that for
in,
sure.
in a more clear manner. You can sit over here, down here, where I'm at, being as all my relatives are actually from Louisiana originally. I grew up eating things that people out west or up north would look at and go, "Oh my God, you eat that?" Yeah, it's good. There's nothing wrong with it. I eat bacon every day. I get in trouble for that quite a bit, but then at the same time, I look at him and go, "I didn't ask you to sit down and eat it with me, so why are you complaining?" But God, as far as comics and comedians go, I don't care who they are. They need to take what they've got, what they grew up with, the culture, their lifestyle, and be honest with it and with themselves, and in order to bring forth a better presentation, a better set.
Mm-hmm. So crowd work versus crafted work. If comics riff like influencers and comedians perform like in reaction videos, where's the sweet spot?
I don't really care for crowd work. In fact, I had I was doing a show with one of the veterans that, and I'm a Marine Corps veteran myself, but one of the other veterans and I were doing a show together, and we brought a couple of kids along onto the show, a couple of newer open micers onto the show just to let them a little stage time and let them learn. And this woman kept sitting there and talking. And so when I got up to start my set, she right off the bat, I hadn't got 30 seconds into my set, and she started raw jawing, just talking. And so I stopped and I said, "What'd you say?" And she told me. I kind of laughed. It was kind of funny what she said. I said, "Well, I'll tell you what, what's your name?" And I got her name, and I introduced her and brought her on stage, and then gave her the mic and walked off stage. Now, one, that stopped any heckling the rest of the night.
For sure.
And two, I don't care to do crowd work. I'm not. Everybody sees Matt Rife now because he's got a lot of, and Matt's been at this, what, 12, 15 years now. So I think Matt Rife's been at this 12 or 15 years. But he's got a lot of, he does a lot of crowd work that comes out on his videos. And that's what, for a long time, that's what people think you do at a comedy show, and it's not. A good note on that, bringing that woman up. After that show that night, she was walking toward me, and I saw her husband walking with her, and I thought, well, I'm fixing to be in trouble. Well, you peeping him, you looking at him blinds. Are you getting in trouble? Are you looking?
No, yeah. There's someone knocking here. It's a horrible timing. Horrible timing. I can't see him, but
what is behind the curtain, the wizard?
It's exactly right.
Yeah. So anyway, at the end of that show, this woman comes walking up, and she still got this really sour look on her face. But the guy in front of her was coming straight for me, and I thought, "Dear Lord, that's her husband." And I thought, I'm fixing to get knocked out or something here. I was expecting it. I kind of had it coming because I called her on it like that. But he reached out and he grabbed my hand. He started shaking my hand. He said, "Man, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen." He said, "That's the first time she shut up in 13 years. So that was, that worked out pretty good.
So that's pretty much, you're pretty much leaning into the second part of the question, which was what happens when a comic leans too much into crowd work or a comedian?
Yeah, I leaned a little too. But if you want to see what happens when a comic really leans too much into crowd work, there's, I believe it was Kenny Moore got into a fight with a guy at a bar, and I'm not sure if it was in Shreveport or where. I believe it was in Louisiana where he got into a fight with a guy. But they call him El Cabong. You can Google it or look it up on YouTube. And it's what? Go ahead. I'm talking to an empty elevator. Oh no!
There you are. I'm back in the elevator.
Yay! No, you can Google it. I believe his name was Kenny Moore. He and a guy, some guy started heckling him, and Kenny very blatantly told the guy, "Look, I don't come down to the bus station and slap up out of your mouth while you're working, doing, And then the guy just stood up and wanted to come at him, and Kenny just stepped off stage with a nice, very expensive 12-string guitar and broke it on him. So, there is a line that can be crossed. I'm not going to cross that line. I have asked people to, when I said one time I said I was from Frog Knot, Texas. A guy pops up and yells, "I know where that is." And I went, "I'm sorry." And he goes, "No, I'm just saying." I said, "I'm sorry. It's okay. You'll get over it." And I went and finished my act, But sometimes, people you just need to stop them. But these videos where, these people are just ripping on everybody these are done after they've done their act. And the crowds are not realizing that. There's a lot of these crowds are saying, "Oh, well, we'll go to a comedy show and shout stuff at the comedians." And that's really not appropriate because there's nobody around you can hear.
Right.
So
So advertising and self-promotion, who advertises themselves more, the comic or comedian? You know that place where you're not conscious and you're not sleeping either? That's your power bill to the electric company. Right here. I want us to be here with free energy, where the Wardenclyffe Tower meets the Eiffel Tower. But that's not where we are. We are here, where you've got the utility and you've got residential solar. Between these two, we know which one saves you money. This is where we can go in the meantime. But this is where I want us to be now, and this can be done now. So let me deputize you to represent DOSE, Department of Solar Efficiency, and let's get on the podcast to get the message out today. See you soon.
Well, I think they both advertise a little too much. I think the promoter is a promoter for a reason. If I'm playing Dallas, I'm 350 miles from Dallas. I'm literally a 6.5 hour drive from wherever I've got to play in Dallas or Fort Worth. Mm-hmm. So it's his job to promote. He's a promoter for a reason. I will throw, every time he throws it out there, I'll throw it out there. And I'll throw it out to a certain audience that I know will show up. That live in that one area, as a matter of fact. But I won't plaster the walls of my hometown with it so they can go run 350 miles to see me. In fact, I've only done 2 shows in this town in the last 10 years. Maybe I should do more here, but I don't know.
You gotta get the whole town to show up, right? So
yeah, you got to get the whole town to show up.
So would you say that self-promotion could be seen as selling out, or is it necessary for survival?
Oh, no, it's a necessary evil. It is a necessary evil. I don't really, I don't promote myself as well as I should. I know that. But I've got other things, projects going on also, and I get sidetracked with one thing or another. But self-promotion, there's nothing wrong as a comic or a comedian. There's absolutely nothing wrong with self-promotion. It will help you, and it will probably help you advance yourself as well as anything else that you've got going on, you know.
Yeah. So censorship and offense. Does a comic avoid offense while a comedian courts it to prove a point, like a magician?
You know, censorship on stage, I don't agree with. And I'll say this. That censorship, if we go to censoring everyone for, look at the big push we had recently with the whole, everybody was censoring everyone. Everyone was afraid to say something on stage. Everyone became afraid to offend someone else on stage. Quit. Offend someone. When you say something that's offensive to them, it may make them mad. But at the same time, you're turning around and you're making them think. Was it really so bad what was said? Was it really, that's very touchy subject with me, because people want to censor you. I've literally got on stage at a predominantly urban club, and I play really well in urban clubs once I get started. Like in California, you don't really have urban clubs like they do here. There's clubs that are just strictly blacks, strictly whites, and I'm like, why? But then everybody intermingles. There are clubs that everybody intermingles at. And I don't know why that is. It's the South is not as what do you call it? What was the name of that movie? Gone with the Wind-ish as everybody thinks. In fact, especially everybody thinks Louisiana is like, oh, slave owners, no slave owners. No, everybody gets along just fine. I run into more bigotry and trouble up north and out west than I have in the South ever. And of course, people from the north and out west are going to be saying, oh, no, not us. Yeah, you know. I'm sorry I speak with an accent, but I'm not quite as dumb as you think. So
Well,
I get
who would you say survives better in the cancel culture environment, the comic or comedian?
I think both can survive better if they just go ahead and be offensive, damn it. Be offensive. Offend someone. Don't hold back. I'm not saying go out and be a blatant racist. And there are quite a few who will attempt it, but I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is if it offends someone and they go, oh, well, good, you've made them stop and think about that. But at the same time, you've also made them start laughing about stuff, which is going to, and what I found is that if you can make someone laugh, they'll remember it and they'll think about it. And going back to promotions, laughter and promotions, and I know this is coming up also, you'll probably ask me about it, but when a band puts a song out and everybody loves it, they can do that same song for the next 20 years on stage, and people will show up just to hear them do that. Mm-hmm. When a comic does a joke on stage or tells a story on stage, once it's recorded, he better change his tune, start writing more stuff, start writing other things, because nobody wants to hear the same story over and over and over again. And there's a difference there between musicians and comedians or comics.
Yeah, that's for sure. Getting recorded, that's when everything changes. So timing and delivery, science or art? Do comics rely more on structure and comedians more on rhythm and emotion?
I think both should rely on rhythm and structure. Timing, you can take a pause for not just an applause break or a laugh break, so to speak. And a laugh break and an applause break are pretty much the same thing as in the comedy world. But if you pause too long between your story and your punchline, if you pause for effect, that's one thing. But if you pause too long, you've lost them that quick. I mean, it's just pause for maybe a half a second to give them a second to go, oh, wait a minute, what? But then if you hang it out there for 2-3 seconds, you've lost them already. They're going, well, what's going on here?
For sure, 100%. So laughter versus applause. Are comics chasing laughs and comedians chasing applause breaks that validate the message?
I think laughter in a comedy club, my opinion, laughter and applause are pretty much the same thing. They should be considered as such. If you're up there making a political statement, yeah, good for you. But if you're up there telling a story and you get laugh breaks in that story, people are going to remember that, and they're having a good time. The applause, the laughter is the applause, I think. Does that make sense? A lot of people don't look at it like that.
No, I definitely do. I mean, to me, it makes 100% sense. So comedy is commentary. When does a comedian cross into being a philosopher or a preacher?
Watch Bill Hicks or Sam Kinison, either one. You'll see that happen. Of course, Sam Kinison was a preacher. Bill Hicks grew up in a very theological family and background, but you see Bill cross over in years of watching the videos of him and the years of watching Bill. You see him cross over into the mainstream, up to the minute. Things are still. In fact, the last show that he did on Letterman, they didn't air because they thought it was for some reason the censors didn't air it. I don't know why it was, but after Bill passed, his mother came on to Letterman, and they aired that, and that bit that they aired was just as relevant then when he first did it as it was when his mother was on the show after his passing, and they aired it, and it's still relevant today. So the philosophical part, give or take. When you get into the philosophy of it, you have to stop and regroup with yourself and go, because, well, like I said, I'm a storyteller. There's just weird facts that I find that are just out to me, just the dumbest things in the world. I mean, we spent, and it's just now coming to light, but I've been talking about it for about 12 years now. We spent $875,000. Our tax money was spent $875,000 to study the sexual habits of quail on cocaine.
Well, now that's an experiment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm wondering who was doing the coke. But now here's the really weird part, because in the same reading, I learned that they spent another $250,000 teaching the Department of Defense bird watching. So,
Hey,
we
you want
got
to know if it's a
philosophical
drone or a
things.
bird, right?
Oh, yeah, I guess. But it's things like that I find that I go, I get kind of preachy about that kind of stuff because it's my tax money, it's your tax money. Yeah, I want to be preachy about that kind of stuff. So yeah, you call it
So,
philosophical. I call it theological. Their
yeah,
goal in life is to steal our money, and they're doing a pretty good job of it. I need to shut up. I'm starting to collect Social Security this year, so
hopefully it sticks around. So, is it
yeah,
good, or does it dilute the humor?
I think if it could go either way. It depends on the person. It depends on the person presenting it. It depends on the person, their delivery, and it depends on what they want to the what kind of joke they see in it. I mean, everyone's got a different sense of humor. I don't care who you are. We've all got a different sense of humor. Some of us are a little more warped than others, but yeah, I can see some of them going downhill pretty quick trying to be philosophical about things.
Fair enough. So, comedy and vulnerability. I would argue that comics hide behind their jokes and comedians expose themselves. Do you agree? And do you see
Yes,
one as okay?
yeah. Well, I agree. Excuse me.
Do you think one is braver than the other then?
92 degrees, 93 degrees. I'm drinking coffee still.
Yeah. Iced
Uh,
coffee?
no, Lord. Why mess up a good thing? That's like putting water in bourbon. Uh, uh,
Some people put
so,
butter on rice. So,
well, yeah, but I was raised that way. And
ah.
then we throw gravy on it too.
Well, I'm in
And that's
California,
the
so
good,
we drink iced coffee.
uh, nasty,
Uh,
nasty. Abomination unto mankind. Uh,
uh,
I've had iced coffee. I like it actually. I drink cold coffee, hot coffee, doesn't matter to me. Back to our question. Repeat it, please. We got distracted and sidetracked. I told you I have
comedy.
ADHD.
Yeah,
So,
no, it works. Comedy and vulnerability. I argue that comics hide behind their jokes and comedians expose themselves. If you agree, which one is braver?
oh, Well, comics pretty much do hide behind their jokes. Uh, some of them do when they make themselves out to be on the forefront of things. Excuse me. Comedians, much like myself, I tend to find a lot of things that I was not really looking for, and by finding these things by accident, I realized that my God, this related to my childhood in such a way that I need to because I was looking at stuff like this in the 1960s and 70s, and you might say I was I was a product, but yeah, we some do hide behind their craft, some don't. It depends. It depends on the comedian. Um, Most comedians take their lives, the things that are happening to them at that moment in that moment in time, and they definitely throw it out there. I mean, you have to be. I think a comedian is a braver one because they're actually throwing their life out there. Look at um, oh, Kreischer and Segura both throw their whole lives out there all the time. Oh God, Kathleen Madigan. I can name hundreds of comedians that throw their whole lives out there. Everything that goes wrong in life, they throw it out there. I throw it out there. I do stupid stuff. I'll go, hey, look what I did. You know, but it's not to get the attention. It's to say, hey, don't make the same mistake that I made because look at me. 40 years down the road, 45 years down the road, I'm still going, hey, look at this. I can still screw up. So, yeah, throw it out there, have fun with it.
Absolutely.
And if it's a family matter, I was talking to Dovey Maxwell about this a couple of times. And there's things that we do put out there family wise. And there's things that everybody doesn't put out there family wise because some things are just too personal. The comedy helps us work through things.
Yeah. Absolutely. So last question about legacy. Who gets remembered? Will the comic's tight five survive time, or will the comedian's cultural point of view be more timeless?
Well, let's see. A little of both, actually. We lost one of my favorites about a year or two ago, I believe. Judy Tenuta. You may have known who Judy was. Judy had an amazing type 5. Victoria Jackson had an amazing type 5. And she went on to do Saturday Night Live for I think, a season. God, I grew up listening to Lenny Bruce, Henny Youngman, Milton Berle, all these, what was his name? Jack Benny. And then in the 60s came about, and I started. My grandmother was a big influence on me as far as comedy goes. She introduced me to the likes of Buddy Hackett and George Carlin and Richard Pryor back when they were still doing television. And everybody goes, well, I'm the new Richard Pryor. I'm the new George Carlin. These guys were on TV not doing what you heard them do in the 70s and 80s. And they were doing the cleanest sets. But Buddy Hackett could come out and do the dirtiest clean set you've ever seen in your life. And I loved watching it. And that's what I liked. I enjoyed Buddy Hackett. So, yeah, comics and comedians both have have things that are memorable.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, Richard, where can everybody find you online?
I'm on Facebook and I am on TikTok. Let me look and see what my TikTok is because I don't have that pulled up here.
Do you post regularly?
Not on TikTok. I'm about to start having to do that because that's use it or lose it. It's fixing to go away anyway, I think.
There'll be another version, I'm sure.
Yeah. The last time I watched your show, there was a, it's at Richard.VanDyke6.
So did you put the 6 or is there 6 other of you?
No, that's just the 6 is on the end of it. Just they gave me that name.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, Richard, thank you for being my guest, and for everybody.
Sir, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, and for everyone watching, please like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.
All right, thank you very much.